Hi, everyone. So I was supposed to introduce myself. I'm the head coach at Fordham University. Um, been around the sport for 30 plus years. And I played at Cal as an undergrad. Been playing for the Olympic Club and the New York Athletic Club for the last 20 years as an athlete. And then oh, I'm being told I'm supposed to admit people. Um, should
All
I
right,
be
let me
doing
see if I can turn off the waiting.
that?
Hopefully people can just join. Sorry.
Okay. Um, and yeah, I've been the head coach at Fordham for the last 4 years, 5 years. 2019, I started. I guess 5 years. Um, I'm supposed to talk about man up, man down tonight. So, I can do one of two things. I can just talk about it, or I can take questions right off the bat about what people are interested in. It's a smaller group. There's only looks like 6 or 7 other people on here. So I'm happy to answer any questions that people have. If they want me to get into more sophisticated stuff, basic stuff, I'd be happy. Um, oh, that's a great question from Daniel. Yes, is interested in understand how the new goal area has impacted the 6 on 5. It's a great question. Honestly, I think it's a huge difference. When you think about the man up situation, the traditional way to run a man up was either a 6 in or a 1 in. Is there anyone on here who doesn't know what 6 in or 1 in means? Feel free to chime in. Um, so a 6 in. I'm gonna share my screen actually for a second. Um, I was reviewing some film tonight. Let's see, share. I Okay. So, can you see my screen now?
Not currently. Let me see if I can make you.
Let's see. Still no?
The host will have to,
Oh, here it is. I found it. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Good. Okay. So yeah, I was watching film tonight, and the um this is Princeton UOP, and um this is a basic setup, obviously. But I think if you progress this to one, um, you could see that once they get into their rotation, uh, and I believe they're going to do it. Oh, this is the wrong one. But let's see here. 21, 20. Um, that'll come in a second. But the it's fascinating because guys just sit inside the goal area now. And the and once you are there, the traditional way of running a 6 on 5 was all about you get the ball at 6, you take it in. Yeah, it's super slow. Everyone did the same thing, and you just are very methodical about it. But if you watch this guy right here, as this 6 on 5 is progressing, he is just sitting there inside the goal area the entire time. Um, and and most of the time this guy is just a passer, could be a scorer. We actually just we scored a few from that spot, sitting right there on the 2 meter line catching it, and then moving in. But you can see that teams are really using this guy just as an automatic passer, and then you'll see that these guys, either this guy or the three post, especially when that person gets it, just immediately breaks to the cage, and it becomes a very dynamic way to utilize that goal area to team's advantage. Um, and and I'd say that defensively, it's become a huge challenge to cover it because when this guy's just sitting here, and this guy's a little wide right now, but if he's right here and maybe even a little up, like he's a shooting threat. So you have to somehow be able to cover that, and it's become a huge challenge defensively on how to cover that when that guy is inside the goal area. Do we have other questions?
So how are you trying to
Gotta go
defend
back to
them?
my Zoom.
So how do you recommend defending the person
Um,
camping out just outside the goal
so
area?
then I'll keep talking, I guess. Um, so yeah, the defensively talking about this goal area, there's a number of different ways to defend it. Um, some will just take him away with the goalie. Others have, people knocking him down. But it, I, I don't know that teams have totally figured out exactly how they want to defend it yet. I think it's a bit of a work in progress with the new addition of this rule, and coaches having to try to figure out what is their way to take that away. It was a lot easier back in the days when, you know, this guy had to be out here. This guy could sort of jump back and still be able to cover that, and shot block there, but it's not the case anymore.
Are people
So,
trying to swing the two? Sorry.
Daniel, do you have another question?
Yeah, so what about swinging
I
the
got muted.
two defender to try to cover that if they start moving in?
No. So I would say, a couple of points that when I was thinking about, presenting on this topic, um, that I felt like were really key, both from an offensive standpoint and a defensive standpoint. Like, obviously, having great shooters is always going to help, but even the best shooters in the world uh, struggle on 6-on-5, um, because people know how to defend and shot block against it. And we could talk a little bit about defense if that's of interest to people. But um, the the um, the real key to, I think, anyone's 6-on-5 is passing. And I think that the number one way to work on that, is just work on the quickness and intensity that with which you work on passing in practice. The just passing back and forth without faking isn't necessarily that totally that helpful. It still does move the goalie, but one fake and move, or just a little hitch when you're moving that ball, just a little quick, flinch even can get the goalie to jump, to get the field blockers to jump, and moving that ball quickly, and crisply, and teaching players to learn how to move without the ball. Um, I think on this particular play, actually, if I remember correctly, you're going to see the ball cross across the pool, across again, two fakes, back, bend, fake. But there's a couple things that you can notice about what happened there, um, as that's happening. So let me go back just one more time. So as that guy goes in and stays there, and that ball comes across over to 5, 4 to 6. Okay, watch this guy here. Okay, on the 3 post. Okay, he's going to get. When that ball goes down to 1 here, he's going to try to move in, and then he moves out. All right, so he's moving without the ball before he receives the ultimate pass to catch to score. Um, and I think that is so he moves in there, and now he's going to move out and gets his hips underneath him and body in position, and he's ready to receive the pass from the 6th guy. And obviously that ball movement before that, quick fake, 1, 2 fakes, not holding the ball too long, and then crossing it, and then 1 fake, and then over the top to that post guy. But that post movement is so difficult to guard. When guys are moving and active at those post positions, when guys on the perimeter are moving without the ball and moving into shooting lanes and moving into better spots so that they force a defender, oh, he's not in the same spot. So now I have to jump as a defender to go over to guard him. And then that gets that defender a little bit out of position. It gets the goalie to jump a little bit out of position. And then ultimately the opening that you're looking for becomes bigger and bigger and bigger over time. And so I'd say the key to a really great 6-on-5, outside of just having great shooters, is getting your team to learn to work together, and move without the ball, pass the ball, and 1 fake and move and all that kind of stuff. So um, uh, I thought this was a really great example of them doing that pretty much to perfection on this particular 6-on-5. Did I have any other questions in the chat? Yeah, favorite drills for 6-on-5 skills. That's a good question as well. So we like to do a 6-on-5 drill. Let me see. I'll go to 1430. It's a very common one where we only have half of the 6-on-5. So these 2 guys here with a post here and working back and forth in that what I call the small triangle. Okay. And then you have a defender shot blocking here, a defender shot blocking here. If you have enough guys, you might have a defender shot blocking in the middle too. And maybe a post that isn't involved in the drill, that's just there for reference. And then we expand it, and then we add, this guy into the drill, and then and a field blocker, and you just kind of grow from there. Then you do it to the other side. You got a guy here, a guy here, and a guy here. Maybe a post for the reference point, and then you have these defenders. It works on shot blocking, so taking away, your near side responsibility with this guy and with this guy, depending on how you like to use your middle defender. Okay, he can be involved in the shot blocking situation as well. But it's a great drill in terms of getting guys to work with each other, and as this guy might be faking once or twice, getting this guy to learn to get his hips in the right position and step into the right spot and be able to move quickly to open up a little shooting lane for themselves. The drill doesn't work and you get blocked all the time if you just stay in the same spots, and the guys who are field blocking know where you're going to be. So getting your guys to move without the ball and move quickly is a challenge. It's a lot easier to move without the ball when the ball's over on the far side of the pool, right? when the ball's just one fake away and you really got to move quickly, it really develops those skills. We also do drills, where guys just work on their shooting, from this different 6-on-5 spots. So go to a spot, you play one a lot. Okay, fine. Go to one, and work on shooting around your field blocker. You go up top, same thing. Working on post shots, and receiving post shots from different positions. Maybe a pass from 4 to 2 or 5 to 2, can be very beneficial in terms of, but don't do it without field blockers, right? It's very easy to score a post shot if you're catching a pass from 5 to 2 and there's no field blockers around. Have field blockers, jumping in there and making that shooter have to work on shooting around what would be a live game time situation with field blockers in the way. Same idea, if they are going to have to make a move off of a defender up top, like, have that guy as like a reference point so that they have to work on catching that ball and putting it into the cage around field blockers with defenders in the way. And doing 5 or 10 of those with, this guy having to shoot around those guys. Those are two of our favorites. Let's see. So the question is, any thoughts on the effectiveness of the traditional 6-in and 1-in plays with the new 2-meter rules? I've seen players bury themselves inside 2 meters at the 1 and 6, and teams end up forcing more difficult shots from 4 and 5. And I'm wondering if 6-in and 1-in plays aren't better options. So that was a similar question to the one that got asked earlier about the penalty or the goal area box. So I'll go back to that play that we looked at earlier. Which one was it? It was so you'll see again on this play that we watched earlier that one man, when he goes in, he really does bury himself. Okay. And, I think to your point, yes, he's really taking himself out of that play. I mean, look, his head's almost on the goal line, and he's about a meter or two outside that area. So he's very much buried himself on this play. I think that there's ways, to not make that guy such a lack of a scoring threat. What I would say is, I don't think that guy had to be as far out as he was. So let's go back. So he's kind of a bit of a scoring threat right here. And he could probably even be a half meter in, but this guy's taking him away at that time. So why not, rather than he just backed up there, if you watch that, why can't he be right here? About 1 meter and 1 meter and just outside that goal area. That's a much better shooting situation. And if you catch that ball and you're still a passer, you're also a better passer in that situation, especially if this guy's going to creep up there. So I guess my point is that, yes, you are taking away your angle. Yes, you are taking yourself into a situation that isn't great. But as you see defenders going away from you, why not cheat in behind them and keep an eye on where that 2-meter area is so you're still outside of it? But, there's a big buoy right there. So you can kind of see it out of the corner of your eye, and cheat in a little bit up and cheat a little up. And then if that ball does come to you, now you're at an angle where you might be able to score it. Does that answer your question? Let's see. All right. Other questions?
Do you have any thoughts on,
I think you're on mute. Someone was,
can you hear me?
maybe it's me. No? Oh, I think I can hear you clicking now.
Can you hear me now?
I can. Yes.
Perfect. So some of the teams that I've played on, a big issue has been like knowing when to take the shot, like knowing what to look for, whether it's like what are the signs that like you're the one to take the shot? Do you have any tips on that?
Um, I think it comes from practice, and working together in the 6-on-5. The most difficult part about what you're saying is that, coaches will go in the other direction. They'll say, okay, we're going to run a 1 in, and my lefty's going to come into the pocket, and when that ball gets to 6, it's their job to shoot. um, uh, Same idea if you go 6 in, and that one guy is coming to the pocket. Okay, he's going to shoot. It's the most predictable thing in the world, and most easily defensible thing in the world. So to answer your question, it's okay to run 6 in. It's okay to run 1 in. Uh, but everyone has to be a threat along the way as that ball is being passed around, and it will create at times bad shots. It really will. Like, especially in the learning process, where guys are gonna or women are going to take shots earlier than and then you always what I always cringe at is the coach lecturing that player later about, well, you took the shot too early in the 6-on-5. Well, how do you learn when the right time to shoot is if you don't if you don't learn by taking it sometimes and trial by error, and that's why you have to work so much on the 6-on-5 in practice. It's that, you know, going back to this one for a second. Uh, so, I mean, right here, that 6 man, could have made that pass to here, right there. Could have made the pass or took look to step in. I mean, he's got a lot of water in front of him that he could have looked to step in to shoot. And this guy was a Catino Award nominee. Like, he's a great player. Like, why not step in? He's going to pass it down to 1. Okay. Could that guy have shot? Um, and then he brings it back and he has the shot even more because the ball's crossed across the pool twice now. And so part of it is just having great players that, understand this stuff, but at the same time, like, they passed up several shots here that could have been opportunities to shoot. And I think that clearly UOP and Princeton are two of the best teams in the country. And they know, each other, and they know the openings that they're going to create, and they've done it through trial by error, working together. And so, as a coach, don't get frustrated or tell a player, no, you shouldn't take that shot. Like, if they saw an opening, sometimes they will miss. It's bound to happen, or someone makes a great defensive stop. Now, where you can challenge a player is what did you see in that situation? Like, why did you decide to take that shot? Because if the answer is, well, we've been doing 6 on 5 10 times in a row and I haven't shot in a while, that's the wrong answer. But if they truly saw a hole and they just didn't, have the skill on that play or the execution on that play to put it into that hole, then, do it again and let's see you finish it this time. And so, you know, honestly, in this particular 6 on 5 situation, every single one of these, at least 5 guys, are should be scoring threats if they get the ball. And if the hole isn't there, then they make that one fake and then move it to the next spot. As we talked about, this guy could probably improve his angle a little bit, and also become a scoring threat. But um, I would say that, the um, I've always uh, felt that that was the right philosophy in terms of 6 on 5. Even if I had, a multi-time All-American on my team and, a guy that is a lot weaker, um, I'm not going to get mad at the guy um, who is the weaker player from taking a shot if they had an opening. Because if they score it, it's going to make that All American have, possibly 3 openings the next, several 6 on 5s because everyone's going to be worried about multiple good people on the play. So sorry, long-winded answer to that. I see some more questions in. How much time do you dedicate to 6 on 5 versus set O or transition? Um, I try to do some 6 on 5 every single day. Um, I also try to make it competitive. Okay, so it's a competition who wins. So if the team, and it could be very simple, losing team does 10 jumps or something like that. Like, doesn't matter for my guys at least. They want to win because they don't want to be the one to lose in general. Uh, so competition is helps increase the level of intensity on most drills. But uh, the amount of time that I spend on it really depends on. Um, I do think that it can get stale and predictable and boring for teams if you spend too much time on it on any given day. But I spend a little bit of time on every practice going through it. And we may have different focuses on different days. The focus may be defense one day, it may be running a particular play one day, it may be defending against a particular team's play one day. It just depends. But every day we try to do some 6 on 5. It's the way the game has gone. There's so many ejections now. Everything's an ejection, so you really have to uh, focus on that part of the game. Yes, we spend a lot of time focusing on. The question was, do you spend much time working on the tempo of your passing for 6 on 5? Yeah, we talked about that in the beginning, but working on the way in which people are faking and passing, the tempo is extremely important, and getting people to learn to, like I said, move without the ball and move into scoring positions and trying to create drills that allow people to learn how to do that, I think is a very important part of developing a strong 6 on 5. The question was, where do you like to position your strongest passer and shooter? Um, um, that's interesting. Well, I guess I would say that it depends on who that person is. Um, if my strongest person is a lefty, uh, I'm probably still not going to put him over in the 1-2 side and and having him in that spot. Um, but um, assuming that they're all righties, um, I think that most players have preferences for where they like to be and score. Um, and so you need to develop the skill set of the people around them to um, to allow them to be in spots that they can be successful. Because the stronger that everyone else is able to uh, execute, the better that your best players are going to be able to ultimately get open. It really is dependent on opening them up. Like your best scorers are going to have a much easier time scoring if someone else has scored, or is a threat and people are worried about. So I think that it's less about the position that they're in and more about developing the skill sets of the others around them to be successful in the spots that you're going to put them in and trying to create the most well-rounded 6-on-5 you possibly can. Um, so I think that hopefully that answers that question. Um, what do you think we should know that hasn't been touched on? Ooh, that's a tough one. I don't know that I have an answer. We've kind of hit on a lot of things. Um, this is an interesting one. Um, This is a two-part question. How often do you run specific plays for a certain look versus moving and read the defense? You only get 4 timeouts a game, at least at my level. I don't know about the other levels. So running specific plays are tough, right? If you're if you're going to be running a specific play and you only have certain people in certain spots, uh, then they all have to swim to those spots and they all have to know what to do on that specific play. Um, and they may not be in a position that they're used to. And if they're not in a position that they're used to, then you're going to have a harder time executing on that given play. So, you can run a timeout play, but, you know, you only usually have about, 1 or 2 timeouts that you can use per game for 6-on-5 specifically. So I don't, there's not a ton. I think that it's more important, if you get 10 6-on-5s in a game, that you have the ability to move and read the defense than focusing on specific plays. I think that's more important. But obviously, plays work, and having those in your back pocket for those 1 or 2, maybe even 3 timeouts can be very effective. Um, how often are you looking for the low post versus the outside shots? Post play is, I think, a huge part of a successful 6-on-5. Learning to find those posts, learning how to get open. It's a huge part of opening up outside shooters. If you are constantly looking for the outside shot, then defenders start to cheat out to you, and you don't have those openings that you possibly could have. So I think there's no percentage or anything like that, but I'd say uh, developing post play is a huge part of opening up outside shooters. I think that's about it. I think we're out of time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian, for answering some great questions.
Thanks. Oh, you're on mute again.
Can you hear me? We'll call it.
I'm not hearing you. Maybe there's something I have to do. I don't know.
Well,
Thank you.
thank
Have a good
you.
night.